But I would refer you to another legal opinion that's been sent to us this morning, which contradicts the one that we've received from our own staff. And I notice that if we're going to be voting on this or calling yeas and nays, there are some members missing, and some of those members happen to vote for that meeting at the time. So I don't believe it would be the will of this council to approve those correction in minutes that contradict what the majority of council has already decided.
So, Mr. Clerk, can you please inform us, in your opinion, is the motion by Councillor Hume and Harder in order, and would it reflect what the council intention was at the time of the April 24th meeting?
Mr. Mayor, I'm of the legal opinion that the motion from both Councillors Hume and Harder is in order. I am of the legal opinion that it would reflect what was done by Council on both April 24th and May 8th.
Okay. So, Councillor Lois, do you have anything else to add? Because this is your one chance to speak.
Well,
and you have
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of questions on this, and I want to start with when there was a motion made or move made to reconsider the motion, which was quite in order, legit. Councillor Clark made that move, and at the time it met the basic requirement of 8 votes in order to come back at the following meeting. That motion was subsequently withdrawn. Would you be able to tell us why that motion was withdrawn? And you might have to impute some motives in the mover at this point.
No, Mr. Mayor, I'm not aware of the underlying rationale for why that motion was withdrawn.
Okay. So was at that time, was the mover provided with any legal advice or legal information that would suggest that he should withdraw that?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Mayor.
But I believe that if you listen to the tape from that meeting, there's a reference to either legal and planning staff having worked this out. I'm not sure what that means, because as the mover of the motion, I would have thought that if there was anything to be worked out, I would have been included in in any deliberations or discussions.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not certain what that reference was.
Okay. So was there a legal opinion offered around that time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Various members of council asked City Legal to give an interpretation of what they thought all of that meant, and that was given.
And was that given in writing at the time?
No. At the time, I directed Mr. Mark to put down in writing in the event that I needed it, and that legal opinion was never finalized in writing. So
let me ask you this: the motion that the motion before us here to correct the minutes, or allegedly correct the minutes. Is this a way of getting around a backdoor way of trying to get reconsideration through when it was quite obvious that reconsideration didn't have the support around the table at the appropriate time?
No, Mr. Mayor, I do not believe so.
Yeah, well, I guess we're going to differ on that, because I think we can all count on our fingers how many votes there were, and there's certainly is there a higher test for having reconsideration approved at a subsequent council meeting?
It would be an absolute majority of council, Mr. Mayor.
And that would be regardless of members being present or not?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So today, if I look around the table, there are members missing. Some of the members that would have voted for, some might have voted against. I'm not doing a quick count right now, but certainly it changes the count or the formula from from what would have happened if reconsideration had been followed through. Would that be a correct observation at this point?
Mr. Mayor, I think theoretically it is, although it would be difficult and practically impossible for me to speculate on how the vote would have gone.
Well, no, I'm speculating. I don't expect you to speculate. So Mr. Mayor, I think we do have a dilemma where, as the mover of the motion, as I said earlier, I do believe that the original minutes accurately reflect what that motion was intended to do and what it did. In fact, everybody's vote around this table was of the same opinion in terms of what that motion would do. To try and rewrite the minutes now, in effect, is changing what I think the will of council was and the intent of council. I hate to say it, it becomes a rewrite of the history around this table. I don't think it's appropriate. I would ask for yeas and nays on this, and I would ask Mr. O'Connor to comment on the legal opinion that we received this morning from Solway Wright.
Mr. Mayor, I have read Ms. Cohen's opinion, and while I respectfully agree with her on a number of matters, I respectfully disagree with her legal opinion on this one.
Thank you for that, and I guess we're going to disagree, because I do happen to agree with the opinion offered, and I guess ultimately it may come to to a different test. So, Mr. Mayor, when this, I'm not sure if there's an opportunity for wrap-up. There are a number of speakers now. However, I will be calling for yeas and nays on the correction.
Okay. There's no opportunity for wrap-up, but thank you. Councillor Holmes, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. I find it amazing that we would look at a normal correction of minutes as something that has other motives. Could I ask Mr. O'Connor to explain how the minutes were, how the mistake happened in the writing up of these minutes?
Mr. Mayor, I take full responsibility for the way the minutes came out. I did not undertake the due diligence to read the minutes with the greatest amount of clarity. So when the draft came out, it escaped both myself and Mr. Mark and the Deputy Clerk. It should have reflected that Recommendation 3A was unaffected by the motion.
So you discovered this when?
We discovered this subsequent to the April 24th meeting, and I believe it was subsequent to the May 8th meeting as well.
Okay, so this has been reasonably discovered recently, and that's why I think most of this is a surprise today to us around the table that there was this lack of clarity in the minutes. So your legal opinion is again how to fix this problem?
Is to carry the Hume motion, Mr. Mayor, with regards to this. I think the basic way I would look at this, and I'll share with members of council, is on April 24th and May 8th, you had essentially three components in front of you. You had the recommendations from the report in question, you had the body of the report itself, and you would have had the documents which were appendices to that report. The motion that Councillor Blow has brought forward deleted a particular aspect of only the documents, so it did not affect any of the recommendations, which I would remind members were carried unanimously by Council, nor did it amend anything in the report. So therefore, I think the motion should clarify that.
Okay, thank you. Then I would hope that members will agree to the legal process that governs this Council. And the minutes are clear as to how they should have been written at the time of the minute taking, and that there has been a mistake by staff in the writing of those minutes. What happens, Mr. O'Connor, if we do not agree to the legal rewriting of the minutes to correct the mistake?
Mr. Mayor, I'm of the opinion that if Council does not support the motion to amend before you, then Recommendation 3A would, in fact, be deleted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Blais, please.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. And beg my indulgence, I was not here for the original motion. As I understand the motion from Blows and Tierney, it removes reference of the Muse from the supporting documentation in the report. Is that correct?
Documents 1 to 8, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
So if all reference to the Muse, its definition, what it is, et cetera, has been deleted, how can it be held for further study?
Mr. Mayor, the way this would be done is staff could go forward and study the Muse and decide whether or not they were going to come back with a recommendation as to whether to not move forward with it, move forward with a modified fashion, or move forward as it was originally. This is in fact similar to what happened with the Centertown Community Design Plan at the last meeting of Council. Councillors may remember that there was a proposal for a small moments policy, and in the end that didn't make its way into the document, but staff were directed to go forward and study it. And so I would see what happened with the small moments policy and what's happening with the Muse as being identical in approach.
No, sorry, I guess my question was, though, if the Muse isn't defined, if reference to it has been eliminated, therefore there is no definition, it doesn't exist, so how can it be studied?
Mr. Mayor, there is a discussion of it in the report, and in going forward with further work, staff would be able to bring forward a redefinition of it if that's what staff's recommendation were to be in the future.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Englai, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. Firstly, Mr. O'Connor, you indicated that you had seen the legal opinion provided by Solway Wright and that you didn't agree with it. You didn't say why you didn't agree with it.
Mr. Mayor, I think my primary concern is the fact that Ms. Cohen, as she writes in the middle of the second paragraph, the clear implication of the amendment adopted by Council is to eliminate recommendation 3A. Mr. Mayor, in the legal municipal world, we would look for express language with regards to a replacement motion, elimination motion, that sort of thing. We do not deal with implications or intent because that's an intangible that I cannot define.
If this motion goes ahead this morning, and I'm going to have something to say about that in a minute, but if this motion goes ahead this morning and is successful, is that then going to allow staff to do something that they couldn't previously do based on the motion that went ahead of planning, which is put forward for reconsideration? Or is this just a grammatical, clerical fix, or does it actually have an implication that's going to allow staff to do something that they currently can't do?
Mr. Mayor, we have discussed this, and I'm of the opinion that because you have the clarity in front of you now, because you have the express motion, that if you do not endorse or amend the minutes, then 3A would be gone, and no further action would be taken with regards to that.
So it does have an impact. I'm going to ask, I'm going to bring a motion for deferral. We've just found out about this morning. I think to properly consider this, we need an opportunity to look at the legal opinion. We need to see the minutes or review the tape. We need an opportunity to look at the original motion. The answer you've given me right now disturbs me a little bit in that this clarification, as you call it, is going to allow staff to do something that they currently can't do. So I don't see this as simply a tidying up of the minutes, but there's a real implication to this motion. And I believe Councillor Deans is prepared to second the motion for deferral, so we can have a real opportunity to consider the impact of what this motion may do, and also go back and look at the base supporting materials, review the minutes, look at the original motions, so we can make an informed decision here.
Okay, if you want to write out your motion and bring it to me, please. So we on deferral now. Who would like to speak on deferral? Councillor Clark. Councillor Clark on deferral.
I would like to defer deferral till we've had the rest of us have an opportunity to speak. I don't wish to be cut off by this motion for deferral.
Okay, on deferral. Councillor Tierney on deferral. Councillor, are you wishing, or if people don't want to speak to deferral, please take your name off the list. Councillor Tierney.
When it comes to speaking about deferral, I was actually wanting to speak to some of the points that my council colleagues have brought forward. I'll go to the bottom of the list if this doesn't pass, because I have some big issues with how this is all rolled out in the last 12 hours.
On deferral, Councillor Hume, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Deferral makes this very clear issue quite cloudy. I don't think, quite frankly, Mr. Mayor, that we need to defer because Council speaks by motion. It doesn't speak by intent. Staff don't go off and do things because I thought that I was clear in what I was saying. Council speaks by what is written on the paper. It's very clear. Staff get direction by what the motion says. And it's clear that what the motion was, because it's on paper. It is no more difficult to understand than that issue, Mr. Mayor. So there's really no reason to defer for another legal opinion unless you wish to challenge the principle that Council speaks other than by motion. Council speaks by motion. If the motion here had said eliminate 3A and eliminate all the others, we wouldn't be here today. That's not what the motion said. That's not what the words on the paper said. So, Mr. Mayor, to defer to rewrite the rules of procedure or the intent, or to discern an intent from a tape, that really doesn't matter, because what matters is the words on the paper. And the words on the paper are absolutely crystal clear on what to do. And they're absolutely crystal clear on what they don't do. Now, had the motion been crafted to say, delete 3B, A, C, whatever the numbers were, that would be absolutely clear and we would not be here today. But that's not what the motion did, and that's not what the minutes reflect. So I don't think, if you understand that basic principle that we speak by motion and by what is written on the paper, that we wouldn't, there is a need to defer. In fact, I don't think there's a need to defer. And quite frankly, I think that there's a need for this council to understand that principle, move forward with it, and amend the minutes to reflect what was written on the paper. And if there's a lesson in any of this for all of us, Mr. Mayor, and myself included, is read those minutes before they are approved so that these things don't occur again. So, Mr. Mayor, I don't think there's a need to defer. There's no need for other legal opinions. We operate by motion, words on paper. So, understanding that, Mr. Mayor, means we don't need to defer. We can move forward, and we can put this issue behind us.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Blois on deferral, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would actually agree with the chair of Planning Committee that we do have to live with what the motion says, and I think the minutes adequately reflect. First of all, the motion is sufficiently clear, and the minutes sufficiently reflect that motion. So the real thing to do here is, instead of deferral, would be just vote this alleged correction down.